Well, guys, we're going to get started on this, and I am recording it, so I'll be able to send it over to you later on. But we've had a number of different training sessions, and at this point, I think it just makes sense just to go ahead and record it and then pass it on. So when you have new folks that are coming on board, you can just share with them the training rather than having to wait on us to go through the training process with you hands-on. So, Pete, I know that you're fairly new. Have you had a chance to work with the quote system?
Yeah, somewhat.
Okay. Well, all of us should have a username and password if you haven't already gotten that yet. And the quote system is located in the extranet. If you go to Korkat.com and don't see that there's a navigation link up here called extranet, then you're signed out. So we need to get you a username and password. And once you get the username and password, you go into the bottom of the panel, or the bottom of the page, and sign in. Put in our username and password and remained in. And if for some reason you forget your password, we do have your recorded email on file. You just type your email. You'll get a notification that goes out to your email inbox, and you can either set up a new password or it gives you the option to set up a new password. You can use the same password that you did prior to that. We're not going to force you to come up with new passwords. So let's sign in and get started. So here's the extra tab that you'll see up in the navigation bar. And depending on what what kind of privileges you have, you're going to have a couple of different options in your case. You'll have a form and you'll have leads. Leads are the tab where you're actually reserving your projects. So if you're inputting a customer in a project name, this is the panel that you'll be doing that in, and then you can protect that particular project. Nice about inputting your information under the lead section is that you have a chance to import it into your forms. So let's go to the quote request for forms panel. Okay. And by default, when that form, you should come to a blank form. And it'll be under, you'll see to the left, everything will be blank, and to the right, you're going to have some navigation links. The first thing we can do is autofill using the customer lead. So that would be if you had customer details that you're under your lead reservation, and you can import them right into here rather than having to fill that out. Then we have a number of tabs. We have project details, other items, playland, outdoor safety surfacing, superior shade, and Litchfield. There are going to be two primary tabs that you're always going to fill out for any of your quote requests. And that's going to be your project details and other items. Now, Debbie and Pete, I know you guys do all of your own installation, so you may not need to do anything with the project details. But all of your quote requests at a very minimum should have the billing information under project details, and then other items is going to be where you're going to be inputting all of your items that need to be quoted.
Okay.
So you're looking at the project details page. This is the default page. And if please input as many of these fields as you can, because obviously when estimators are putting the figures together, any omissions they're not going to be filling in the blanks for you. So if there's any information that's not applicable or that is not applied, it is not implied by the estimators. They're only going to fill in what you ask them to. They're only going to request the information that you need them to. So inputting everything in these fields is crucial, including all this information. install markets, billing, obviously. Billing information must be complete. Oftentimes the invoice is going to be going to a different party than the equipment. I know, Debbie, with you guys, billing information goes to yourselves. But for shipping information, we have to have the shipping information because for ITEMA and dealing with playground equipment, we have to be able to indicate where the product's going to be installed. Not to mention with Superior, we need to notify them where it's actually being installed and what states. So in the shipping information, we typically use one rate if it's going to be a single delivery. Combining it with other components with other manufacturers and consolidating freight, we can do that in here. If you need it shipped separately, obviously you can indicate that it's going to have two separate ship opportunities or ship dates. This part is critical if we're shipping it for you and you have multiple delivery options. You need to indicate whether or not you'll have a lift gate. Most of our LTL deliveries don't have a lift gate unless we indicate it. If it's in a residential area, we'll want to indicate that. We need a 24-hour call ahead or delivery appointment that needs to be scheduled. If you need to highlight a couple of these, you need to hold down the control button, and then you can click on several different options. And if you need to get rid of any of those options, hold down the control button again, and then you can click on or off any of those features that you need to. This is more of the address information and your contact number. And now we get into the project details. Is Korkat installing, yes or no? Do we need permits? Do we need engineer drawings? Tree protection required? Is there a dumpster on site? Water access, power access? Any of these considerations have to be addressed because when the quote actually goes through to your estimator, it isn't necessarily going to include that. It will not include any of these options in here unless you check them off. So we're going to assume there's no dumpster. We're going to assume there's no water access. We're going to assume there's no power access. And unless you indicate permitting or engineered drawings, it's not going to be, neither of those are going to be included. And especially in the case of shade and shelter, you don't indicate permitting drawings and standard 90-mile-an-hour wind ratings for the shade and the shelter when in some cases they need to be higher than that. So that area could get you into trouble if you're not checking these off.
I have a question.
Yep.
Now, since we do our own installation and we're asking for a shelter or a shade, now on the Superior Shade form, that's usually where we put like the engineered and drawings and all that kind of stuff. That's where we continue to do it, right? Now, that's only if you're installing here in this section, right?
Say that part again.
All right. On the section that you're covering right now, where you said permitting required and engineered drawings, is that if you are installing? If Korkat's installing?
Debbie, I got it. Yeah, that's for a Korkat installation.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
I would say to go ahead and include for the permitting and the engineering on this section, because it's going to be engineered for that particular project. It isn't necessarily going to be engineered for Korkat. It's going to be engineered for yourself.
Okay, because we don't normally on this, like the shade, it has a place for engineered drawings and stuff.
Right. But when they're actually quoting the projects for you, they're using they're having to design it based on wind load ratings in the area that it's being installed for.
Okay.
So for instance, if your price list is actually going to be a reference for you with your shade quotes, because in high wind load rated areas, we're going to need to. Superior is going to actually be engineering a frame to be able to withstand those higher wind load ratings. And we've seen that in multiple cases here in Sarasota. It's I believe it's 130. Some cases it's 140 mile an hour. Some cases it's 150 miles an hour. So if you're not indicating permitting or engineered drawings, the assumption is that it can be rated for 120 mile an hour for frame and 90 mile an hour for fabric.
Right, which is standard.
Yeah, but that obviously you won't be able to get that permitted if it's not compliant with whatever the local building code is.
Oh, correct. I understand. Okay.
By default, they'll be doing that for you, Debbie. They actually, and in fact, here in Florida, we don't even have an opportunity to use any of the list price.
Right.
The list prices that we have, simply because they really do have to comply with whatever the local installation building codes are, and it's driven obviously by where it's being installed.
Correct. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, you're welcome. Rankings with shade not with shelter, but with shade, you now have an option of having renderings dropped into site pictures. Here's where you're going to be indicating what size and also what kind of drawings you're going to need. So if you need to have just a site plan with rendering, or if you need to have a site plan again, in the case of Florida, where we have to actually show on the site plan where our equipment's going to be installed, then you can indicate that on here and upload your site plan along with your quote request, and we'll be able to have your structure designed and dropped in on the site plan, so you can forward that on to your building department. The custom background option, though, that is if you SRP has the capabilities now to be able to take a picture of the location that's going to be installed in. For example, if it's a shade that's going to be installed in a picnic area, you can take a picture of that picnic area, and they'll be able to actually put a very, very high quality rendering of that component directly in place, and it looks very, very real. It's a really, really nice option that they're featuring. So this is where you're going to be uploading that photo if you need to have a rendering dropped on top of it. Anytime you have any kind of separate notation that you want to have included in here referring to that particular project, maybe emphasizing the due date, maybe emphasizing more details that aren't involved in just the standard checkoffs here. We want to include comment section to be kind of a catch-all. So if there's something that's or maybe you need more detail on it, feel free to go ahead and put it in the project comment section. Any questions? Okay. Once you're finished with the project details tab, you can do one of two things. I've found that it's become good practice just to save it for later. And in order to save a quote, you have to have one field input in here, and that's the name of the project. So when you come back into the project or the quote, you'll be able to pull it back up, and you'll be able to pull it up based on the project name. So I'm going to back out of here and go into the Save Forms section where all your forms will be. And anytime you create a quote request, it's going to be in the system until until somebody deletes it for whatever purpose. But going forward, you should be able to access any of your quotes at any given time and print them off as well. So there's always going to be a copy of you available in here after the quote request has been submitted. You don't actually get a hard copy mailed to you or emailed to you. You're going to get a notification that a quote request was sent to your estimator, but you'll need to come into your panel, and that's where you're going to be able to print off any of your PDFs that were generated. And I'll show you what the output is. Here's an example of This is the actual working file. Let's click on this. This is a design build of Manatee Children's Playground over in New Smyrna that we just quoted. So if you need to get back into the quote form, if it's not complete, maybe you just wanted to get it started and now you have a site visit, get a chance to meet with a customer, and now you've got more details to come back into. I've gone back into that project details page, and now I'm going through just to make sure that I've got all the information that I need. The intention behind this quote request system is that you input it once and submit it once, and then for any additional follow-up modifications, any adjustments, that those be made directly by email to your estimator. So we want to basically get this project started by submitting all the details. And you can see in this case, this one's pretty complete. So I completed this and already sent it off to my estimator. But if you just got it started, obviously you'd be able to come in and complete all the different tabs before submitting. It's our Playland tab. And we had surfacing included. And when I'm ready to submit, I hit email to estimator. After you've saved it one time, it is forever in the system, and you no longer have to hit the save for later option. So basically, you save it once, and then you can always come back into it. And anytime you come in and update and modify it, you shouldn't have to hit the save for later option. It actually is updating your file or as your quote as you're inputting it. And it's only after you've completed everything that you're going to hit the email to estimator option. And then that'll back you out into this tab again. And then you'll see all of your open quotes for all your past quotes. So if you need to come in here and find it by past search, actually WaterSet, Debbie, I think that's yours. You can look up your past quotes, which you can imagine is going to get pretty handy if it's been some time since you actually submitted a quote. Maybe you talked to a customer last year and now they want to revisit it. You don't have a hard copy of the file nearby, or maybe you got it stashed away because you thought the project was closed. Well, now you can come back in here again and pull up the original quote request along with the project details and all the other PDFs that get generated from these separate tabs. So it's actually a pretty intelligent system, because as you're inputting all of this information under these tabs, when you submit it, you're actually generating the hard copy forms that are forwarded on to Superior. So I just clicked on the PDF that was generated in this case for the project details. This is all the information you put in that first tab, that first page with all those fields. Name of the project, company name, contact info, billing address, phone numbers, whether or not it's taxable, if you want discounts, if you want any discounting in there, shipping address, 24-hour call ahead. So these are the extras I was referring to as they apply to freight type. So in this case, we wanted a 24-hour call ahead and we needed a delivery appointment. Those were the two options that we checked off. Is Korkat installing? Yes. Do we need engineer drawings? Yes. Other considerations. This is where you can see that they're blank. So it's not as if there's going to be a checkbox that's generated that says yes or no. Nothing is going to be generated. So you do need to specify that. And then these are all the notes. This is the other comment section for this particular project. So I went through this bid document and I highlighted what I thought was pertinent that I need to remember for later, highlighted it, copied it, and pasted it into the comment section so I could come back into it and as well my estimator could see the notations that I had in there. This is page 2, and I'll show you what this, we're going to jump into this here in just 1 second. But what I want to show you is that as we're inputting these different tabs, this information on these different tabs, these PDF forms get created in the background once you hit email to estimator. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's get back into, let's see here. All right, where'd you go? Here it is. Back to, this is just a fake form that I created, ABC Elementary School. We completed the project details page. So we're going to go to the next page. This is going to be your other items. And this is where you're going to indicate your multiple options. Or say if you have option 1 and option 2. Let's say option 1 is playland structure, and option 2 is an R3 structure. Customer wanted to see both of them, so this is where you would indicate how you want your quote structured. So we're going to say 4 items total. First is going to be my borders. Here's quantity count. Here's the number. Border timbers. Item 1. Here's our play structure. Please indicate in-ground or surface mount. And then under the notes section, for good practice, I always include my manufacturer on here. And then some kind of notation about that particular piece. So let's say we wanted this as our first option. And then we wanted a second option. To be an R3 design. So we're going to include option 1 as a play structure from Playland with borders, and option 2 will be a play structure with borders as well. And here's where you're going to be uploading any of your pictures. So if you have a sketch, site plan, or any additional pictures that you want to include in here, we're planning on upgrading the entire form system over the coming months, and we're going to expand it to 15 to 20 uploads. But for now, if you can just zip your files together and then submit them all at once, that way you're not restricted to the 7 different options, or 6 or 7 different upload options that are currently available. So hopefully you know how to zip a file. So that's for the other items tab. The only reason why you would use a Playland tab is if you're going to be quoting, or if you need a rendering to go along with your quote. So if we're doing a rendering for you, the Playland tab is actually going to render anything that you're indicating on the Other Items tab. So if you don't need a rendering, or if you can just use the rendering, the PNG file that was created, then don't bother filling in the Playland form. If you need a site plan and the play structure rendering, and you need a site plan rendering, then that's when you're going to fill out the Playland form. The Other Items is used as a catch-all for the entire project. So in addition to playground equipment and borders, you'll want to also indicate if you have tables, trash receptacles, shelter, basically any of the SRP pieces, because the estimator is going to use this as kind of a contents table to indicate what items need to be included on this entire project, not just for your playground equipment. So if you do have other items, go ahead and include them in here, and then we're going to go into a breakout for shade and shelter.
Josh.
On those tabs. Yeah.
This is Debbie. I have a question.
Yeah.
I know the Playland is, you said to fill it out if we need a rendering.
Yeah.
Now, if we're having Playland design a custom structure, similar maybe to something our customers looked at or seen somewhere, and we don't really know the parts, we wouldn't know how to put one together. Wouldn't we fill it out there because it tells you if ADA is required, what side's posts, et cetera?
Yes, I'm sorry, a drawing or rendering. I should have emphasized that it needs to be a drawing or a rendering. But
okay.
if you already know if there's a model number, then obviously Playland's already generated that. If it's a custom design, They have not, and that's where you'll need to request a drawing from Playland. So yes, you would use that tab for custom design.
Okay, by filling out the form. Okay, thank you.
Yep. So you have your options in here for the 3.5-inch, 5-inch, recycled, active, dynamic, superior shape, your age groups. And then as Debbie pointed out, your different criteria. So if you need it to be ADA accessible or compliant, you can indicate that here. Roof types. This is an exact copy of the Playland form. So we didn't enhance this any further than we needed to. We just copied everything that they had on there. And as you'll see, the form that's created is a copy of the one that we used to submit to them. So here's where you'll have your drawing uploads. And now you're also going to indicate the number of products that you want included in your drawing. So I'm actually copying over the item that I had already indicated in the Other Items tab, just to make sure that that's included in the drawing. If we had multiple items, you can hit the number of drop-downs needed, and then you can fill in the number of items that you need there. We have some additional parameters, different phasing, and then coloring. If you're going to be doing your custom colors, in most cases, you'll be doing your custom colors. You can indicate the color set that you want to work from. In this case, Carnival is one of the color sets used. Or if you want to indicate if you have specific colors that you want for your custom colors for your structure. And then also in your custom color details, indicate any of your independent item colors, your site furnishings. You can just notate those in here because we don't have separate drop-downs for those. And here's wood fiber. You also want to indicate that in this section. And then we have a couple of options for your borders. We can use the U-zone, which will minimize the amount of borders and surface material required. You can make it rectangular or other. And then you're just going to specify below how you want the borders to be included, or how you want them laid out. You can upload a picture too. So if you have a site plan and let's say your play structure is, you've outlined it so that the borders run along the fence line, maybe there's some sidewalks that you got to contend with, and then tie them all in with some additional equipment. You can upload your picture here to correspond with how you want your borders, or you can just make your notations or in the comments tab. And then any drawings, if it's custom design that you want done, you can upload that here. Any of your pictures. And then one of the other things that Superior had introduced to us are the custom renderings that they're doing now, where they've got some very high quality backgrounds that they're now putting in place. They take an additional 48 hours to render, but they're going to become standard. So they do have some very high quality backgrounds for schools, churches, daycares, and I believe municipalities at this point, like a cityscape background. So that's it for the Playland tab or the Playground tab. Now, if you have surfacing, you need a surfacing quote. That's where OSS comes in. You can indicate the number of areas that you have, 1, 2, or 3. This one may require some notations because you're going to want to indicate, let's say if you have swings that you want to cover in mulch and another area that you want to, and a play structure that you want to surround with poured place or some other unitary surfacing, you'll be able to indicate this in your notes. Different product options, 50/50, 100%, bonded rubber, artificial loose fill, or engineered wood fiber. If you just have engineered wood fiber and borders, then you don't need to use the OSS tab. The engineered wood fiber was used for was to be used in tandem with other types of surfacing material or more complicated surfacing requirements or safety surfacing requirements. So if it's just mulch and borders, go ahead and indicate that on your Playland design, and you can notate it on your other items. You shouldn't have to fill this out separately for just mulch. But if you know what your fall height is for your equipment, you'll be able to indicate that on here, as well as the actual square footage of the material that of the U-zone for that particular fall height. So if you have swings, for example, that you're going to be putting rubber or turf around, you can indicate a fall height of 8 feet and the actual square footage, 1,200 square feet. Or you can just indicate length and width. Color choices and edgings. And then a better description of your edges. So if we're going to say squared edge, you want to indicate what that's going to be squared up against. You might have concrete sidewalk, could be up against a fence line. Just add some more detail. Photos of the site available. One of the big drivers for our surfacing quotes is the access to the area. So we would like to know if we can get an 18-wheeler up within 50 feet of that area. Otherwise, it's going to require additional manpower, perhaps renting of different equipment to get our materials close to site. It's also a good idea to take a Google snapshot if you're like me and you like to use websites for reference, I would be very cautious about how you copy and paste those web links in here, because for whatever reason, if you run into a problem with trying to submit your form and it gives you some unusual code or it doesn't go through properly, it errors out, then it may be that you're copying and pasting links in here, and for whatever reason the coding that you're putting in here throws the system off. So I would, to be safe, the Google Earth snapshot is a better approach than trying to use a Google Earth link. Does that make sense? And use that as a site plan, or use that as a picture of the site plan or site picture, and upload it here rather than trying to put links into the comments page, the comments tab. Okay. Access to the area. The hours of operations, 12 to 14 hours a day. We'd prefer, if you have existing subsurfacing, you can indicate those on here. If you have a subsurfacing that's required, self-explanatory. Who's going to prep or remove? OSS would be us. Is there a dumpster on site? If not, how close can we get that dumpster? And then who is to remove the existing subsurface and who is to install the subsurface. And then as well, any additional notes. Plenty of room for picture uploads. Now we're on to the shades. Are we going to need to dig through concrete? Yes or no? Access, again, is critical. Can we get a concrete truck up to the site? If not, can we get a pump? And how far will we need to pump from parking lot or some access point to the site? Or will we need to rent a Georgia buggy to go ahead and bring in concrete? You need a discount on here. And again, if you are in Florida, you're most likely going to need sealed springs, footings, and calculations. And then just go ahead and include for your specs and your drawings. You'll certainly need those. Yes or no to your glide elbows. Indicate your color fabric. Plug styles. Ground plugs will need to remove. Embedded columns, we rarely do that. Most cases, it's base plate mount with an embed depth. In most cases, we're going to pour footing, and then we'll go ahead and recess it down, and then either backfill with dirt, grass, or pour concrete over the top of it so it's a uniform finish rather than doing embedded columns. Here's where you're going to indicate your number of items. Lots of different styles, and we're constantly updating these as new styles become standard. You'll indicate your quantities, lengths, width, entrance height. Monotech fabric that can be used for your spans that are upwards of 50 plus feet. In most cases, the all-net fabric has a max tension, max span up to 50 feet, whereas Monotech, I believe, goes up to 75 to 80 feet. Better performance overall with the Monotech fabric. It's a nominal upcharge in the price of the material because the price of the fabric material is so minimal compared to the cost of the actual steel and framing of the shelter or of the shade. You can also get Monotech available in lots of bright colors, and the color fastness is superb too. So Monotech has been integrated as a standard option for all of our shades now. you can indicate the notes on that item. So anytime you're hitting the number of, anytime your number of different items is being adjusted, you're going to have an option to be able to make notes for that particular component, or that particular item. And then at the bottom, you're also going to be able to notate any of the special needs for the entire project. Site features, grades level, water access. This is more of a check for yourself, just to make sure that you're looking for these different options as you're doing after you've done your site eval. Make sure you can find out whether or not you can dump dirt on site, clear access site for the concrete truck, where we can get rid of the spoils. If you have electrical there, if your grade is good. You have a tab to upload any of your photos or your drawings. And then the last one is your Litchfield tab. Indicate your shipping option, LTL or trailer. I believe it's anything over 24 feet now requires a trailer or a full container. In most cases, you can use LTL here, but if you want to specify it for a trailer, you can. Competitor rep group, bid due date. Number of different items again, and then if you have multiple quantities of those different items. If you have a custom shelter, it's not going to have a model number associated with it. It might be an 8000 series. And you would just write whatever the length and the width is, custom model series, such, and then indicate your styles. Gable, hip, hex, square, octagonal, mini, or custom. Here's your size again. Here's your drop down for your different metal panels, metal roofing panels. Standard roof pitch, 412. You do have other options, and you can do custom roof pitches. You do have the option for different roof types too. So if you don't see your option listed on here and it is something that you would like to have quoted, you can go ahead and do so using tongue and groove roof decking, and then in your notation you can put whatever specialty roofing material you want to have. Number of tops, single, duo, triple. Actually, it should just be single and duo. Column mount is typically 4 inches embedded. Column upgrades. This is where you're going to indicate any of your accessory items. Cupola, lattice, handrails, column upgrades. Lightning protection, not lighting protection, weather vanes, corner braces, electrical cutouts, the number of handrails you'll need. If you're adding handrails, and then you'll get into your column upgrades, number of electrical cutouts, and any additional notation. And that's it. So if everything looks good there and you're ready to submit it, you're just going to hit your email to estimator. Oops, I'm sorry. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. Put your additional notation in here, and then as well, these are the site-specific questions. We're digging through concrete footers. It's shelter in Florida. You'll want to check off on these options. And then this is going to be where you're going to upload your pictures, your screenshots, any of your site plans. And then once you're done there, and everything looks good, everything should have been saved up to this point. And if you're ready to send it, you're going to hit email to estimator. And it'll take 30 to 60 seconds to upload everything. And it'll back you out into your forms page. Now, it will immediately send you an email saying that a quote request has been submitted. Let me see. And in that quote request detail, there's going to be a link to the forms that have been included on your quote request. If after, for some reason, you come back in here and you don't see that the quote request has gone through, that means it was not received. So there was a hiccup in there, and for whatever reason, it didn't go through. But you should be able to click on the links that your estimators are going to be receiving. So in this case, Vic's on the phone with us. He gets an email confirmation, and these are the two forms. If he sent them off, sent this to his estimator, these are the two forms that would have been generated. Project Details tab. Talking about the location and the different items that are included. And then it's only going to print out items if they were already populated. So in this case, he's only got, he does have playland items, but he doesn't have any drawings. Doesn't have anything from Superior Shade, and he doesn't have anything from Litchfield. So those would not be included on here. And then under the other items, this is what the estimator is going to get to create her create the quote request. If you have attachments, or if you have any uploads, this is where you would have live links. So even after say it's been a couple of weeks since you revisited this quote, you should be able to click on the attachments, and anything that you uploaded, you should be able to pull back up again. So if you need to get back into the site plan, the drawings, your sketches, you should be able to click on these, and they'll be live for you to view. And that's it. Are there any questions?